Hi guys,
Hello.
Hakuna Matata means no worries. And if you guys haven't seen the previews, they're coming out with a real life version of this, like real time, like and Aladdin and a lot of Dumbo. It's a lot of cool stuff. Anyway, so what we want to talk about tonight, this is actually Nancy's jam. Hi, Erin. Hey, Ben. Hi, Marnie. Chris. And she was listening to an interesting podcast that was comparing Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and all of its characters to actually ourselves and in relationships and in lives. Hey, Denise. So I'm excited for this because I'm gonna be going off of her. She's spent the last hour writing notes, and I'm better off the cuff. She's better when she has like kind of like a score sheet of what she's going to talk about. So I'm actually excited to hear what she says. So tonight's conversation is going to be all about how life, ourselves, and our relationships can be compared to the 5 major characters of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm super excited. So, a lot of things like happen in my life, like randomly, that kind of put me on different paths. And I know it's kind of random, but I was searching through my iPod, or not my iPod, my iPhone, the other day while I was driving, and I was trying to listen to something. Might be better between your children. Oh, it's a great book too. But anyway, so as I was driving, I actually just like clicked on a podcast, on Spotify, and it was by his name is Brian Buffini, I believe. But let me make sure I got it right. Okay, so it's Brian Buffini. So if anyone wants to listen to that, it's an Irish guy, and he actually does real estate. So perfect for what I'm doing right now. I just got into real estate, and anyway, the whole theme of the podcast was all about the golden ticket. And he broke down how people are just like the characters from the movie. So if anyone wants to comment or say yes or whatever or no,
Or that's me.
Who has seen, okay, and throughout the thing, yeah, you can tag who you think you might be, but say yes or no if you have seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Now, it could be the new version or the old version.
Yeah, it could be the Johnny Depp version, or it could be the old school version.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the old one. The new one is Willy Wonka.
Yes.
And
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Maybe something
I don't
like
know.
that. Whatever.
But I actually read the book whenever I was little. So
Marnie has.
Yep, so Marnie.
I saw the book.
Yeah, so anyway, so Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So I had never thought this much about this movie until I actually listened to this podcast.
Neither did I.
And I kind of clued Scott in, so I think this is going to be fun for you guys tonight to see that, like, I kind of clued him in what we're going to talk about.
But I really don't know.
Give him everything. So I think it's fun because usually he kind of leads the conversation, and tonight I'm going to kind of take it off. And I just thought it was really cool that the character breakdown, I mean, it's so incredible, and it applies to how people are nowadays. And whenever I was talking to Scott, I'm like, oh my God, this totally applies to relationships as well. So Brian Buffini actually tied it to everyday people and real estate and sales and everything. And again, if you're into real estate and you're into just an awesome podcast, it's Brian Buffini Show. And he's Irish. It's super fun intro. It's super cute. So anyway, let's just jump right into it. So again, we had asked earlier if you have seen Willy Wonka.
Oh, let's do this. Can you guys name the 5 characters that we're going to be talking about? Obviously, Charlie is one. We know that.
Yes.
Who are the other 4 that were in that movie? Because all 4 of them had very distinct characteristics that really made them who they were. So type in the chat box. I know Marnie has seen it. Who were the 4 other characters? Hey, Abby, it's good to see you on here. Hi, Sharon. So Charlie was one. Who were the other 4? We have them written down here, and I think we came up with all but one, and we said, oh, that other one, and
yeah,
it came about.
Yeah. So if you know any of the characters from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy,
type it in the chat box.
Type it in the chat.
I want to wait for them to do it first because
Oh.
it's going to
Alright.
make sense once we go over it, because then we can obviously kind of tag team the two together. So hey, Paul, hi Dorinda, good to see you on here. So again, for those that have seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka, what are the four main characters outside of Charlie that you know of? Charlie, okay.
Yeah.
Or if you guys don't know,
I
just
think
write.
she said she hasn't seen it yet.
Just write, I don't know, and obviously we can just jump into this and we can reintroduce you. All right. So yeah, you're on the clock. We have 24 seconds. So who were the four other characters? Veruca Salt, Mike TV, Augustus, and Violet. All right, we got a winner.
Yes.
We got a winner.
All right.
Okay, so here we go. Nancy?
All right, so let's kick it off. Okay, so first character, and because we always talk about relationships, and this is all about relationships, the first one that we're going to talk about is Augustus Gloop. Okay, so Augustus, and do you remember? Scott?
Yeah, he was
Again,
he was the chunky little German boy.
Yes, yes. Okay, so he was basically kind of like a slave to his appetite. He was, just all about eating. I mean, his family enabled him. I mean, he was all about just excess and instant gratification, and he was just going to basically do whatever he wanted to satisfy his cravings and his needs. So let's think about this right from a relationship standpoint. Okay, so Augustus Gloop. So Scott, from a relationship standpoint, what might this look like in maybe a toxic relationship? What might an Augustus look like for instant satisfaction, gratification?
Yeah, I mean, this is, the first thing that came to mind for me is infidelity. People that are looking for that, if there's something missing in the relationship, if the sex has gone away, if the intimacy has gone away, what's an easy fix? Well, I'm going to go start having a physical relationship with someone else, get some instant gratification, obviously start sleeping with someone else, and that's going to fix everything. And it doesn't.
Yes. So
it feeds the addictional need.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And it's like, okay, now in the age of the digital, the everything, right? Okay, so I met Scott on, a dating app, okay?
Bumble.
I met, now that we have social media, we have so many ways to meet people, not in our immediate, it's not just the grocery store anymore, right? You can meet someone anywhere. So I think it's so incredibly important that we talk about Augustus because, right, like you are going to have people who are interested in you. Let's not joke, people, okay? It's going to take some self-control. It's going to take some discipline, and it's going to take love, and understanding to keep that under control, right? So in a relationship, I think the Augustus, it's definitely out there. It's someone who feels like, well, I could get something better. But like, let's say you're married, with children, and you're in this relationship, what does that look like? I mean, you're always going to be tempted. There's always going to be people out there. So anyway, I wanted to throw this quote out there by Jim Rohn, which is, "We must be careful not to let our current appetites steal away any chance we might have for a future feast." How many movies have you seen? How many times have you, maybe people have experienced this in the past, that maybe they've made a decision, whether it's, infidelity or it's, going off in another direction, and they've literally destroyed their relationship, that was once so great. Okay. In real estate, I will say that I do see people who, I see the great pictures on the wall. I see them married. I see them happy, and they're actually getting a divorce, and that's why they have to sell the house. And it's so sad because something that was once so good somehow turned down a road that wasn't so good, and maybe a decision was made. So again, we're going to move on to the next character, but like Augustus Gloop is that instant satisfaction. So what are the fixes for that? What are things that we can do in a relationship to prevent that from happening? Which is that, being instant, focused on instant gratification, being a slave to your appetite. What are those things that can really help with that?
Self-control. And honestly, the best form of learning self-control is getting therapy. and addiction can come in all forms. Nancy and I are very, very pro therapy. We're actually going to start going to see my therapist this week, not because we need help, but we're going into a transitional phase of our relationship where yep, that happened. We're becoming a family, and we also have my son involved, and we want to make sure that we set ourselves up for as much success as possible for us as future parents with the children that we want to have, but also with welcoming Taylor as an integral part of that family and having him feel that way and addressing his feelings the whole time, but learning how, is that all the time I have? Learning how we can progress the best way possible as a family. So for anyone that has those self-control issues, whether it's food addiction, drugs, alcohol, sex, it's an emotional connection. So I'm not saying that it's an easy fix, but going to a therapist, talking to a party that has no judgment, they just know you for you and the issues that you're going through, it's only going to set you up for success.
Yeah, and I will say, guys, like this abusive behavior isn't always just the person. Sometimes it's a family thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a habit. Sometimes it's something that's been formed, it's been passed down to you. It ties not only to relationships, it could be your relationship with money. It could be the I want it now type behavior.
Addictive spending. You get money comes in, money goes out.
Exactly. So abusive doesn't just have to be, I know we kind of tied it to infidelity and everything, but it could be, other things. It could be tied to other things. But definitely, we talk about counseling a lot because, it is something that's awesome to do. And, a lot of people treat it like it's this weird thing. And it's not always something to go to whenever something's bad. Yes. Sometimes it's great to just get it out there.
It's just so funny to say that.
Yeah, to like really just kind of form the foundation that you want in a great relationship. So
no, people think therapy is such a dirty word. Like it's like there's a problem. No, I mean, therapy means therapeutic, which means healing and helping and progressing. So it shouldn't be viewed as a negative thing. It's a form of self-care. It's just like going and getting a massage. This is getting a massage for your emotions with either for yourself or the person that you're with.
Yeah, and it's growth. And like we like to try so like we like to talk about stuff. Again, we're like real people, right? I told Scott from the beginning when we did these videos, we want to be as real as possible because, we're going through real things. I know for some people out there like, oh my gosh, you're still so fresh because, you've been together a year. I get it. And I know things, get a little, I won't even say some things that, like as you're in a relationship, things start to become a little more like laid back and you start to just get so comfortable with each other that things change. But like, it's still important, and we still like to be very real. And I think therapy, no matter what point and what stage in a relationship you have, I just think it's an okay thing. And, for anyone who's on the fence who are like, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to seem this way, like, please consider it and, use it literally as a tool to kind of help put, your foundation in place for your relationship.
Yeah. Just one more thing, self-control, if it's not learned, it can be taught. And Nancy tells me all the time, like, Scott, you have such amazing self-control. I don't even realize it. I've just, through the structure of how I've always been nutritionally has taught me the foundations of like not saying no, but just being very structured and being very not overly controlling, but just good self-control, knowing when to, go that extra step or pulling back and saying no.
Well, let me repeat the Jim Rohn quote again, because it actually, not only in relationships, and this is why I love this topic. This is why I spent so long like writing notes, because this applies in health, wealth, and relationships, right? Okay, so the quote again is by Jim Rohn: "We must be careful not to let our current appetites steal away any chance we might have for a future feast." think about how many times, okay, Augustus Gloop, right? He's like all about just eating everything, right? And he's this big tubby kid, whatever. If you have self-control and you practice self-control, usually the payoff and everything is so much better, right? You have a better relationship. Like this little blip, not doing this is going to make it so this is so much stronger. You're, not eating a Big Mac and fries, which is that quick, instant satisfaction. You're going to have, a better feeling and a better, overall appearance. Those kind of things, right? What can you not do? So it's funny because like so long, in the past, like there were certain behaviors that I had, like, I would like to eat certain things or I would like to do certain things. I know it's not going to make me feel good, tomorrow or the next day or whatever. So it's not worth it to me. Right. And it's like, Scott asked me, we were in the grocery store tonight and he's like, do you want ice cream? We're going down the aisle and we're shopping. And I'm like, no, because I don't need that, right? Like the old me would have been like, hell yeah, like, I want all the ice cream I want, but like, I literally know it'll make me feel like crap and I don't need it. I've got other things and I can kind of substitute whatever. Like, honestly, like I get the same satisfaction out of, this food or that food. I don't need that.
Yeah. So then I just got mad and now I'm going to resent her for about a week. But that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay.
All right,
let's
move along.
And Paul, I can definitely assist you with that, brother, when you're ready. So.
All right. So the next character, and awesome job for those of you who guessed these characters earlier. So Veruca Salt. So for anyone who isn't like super familiar, with the characters, Veruca Salt was the one who was, I want it and I want it now, right? She wanted everything. She wanted an Oompa Loompa and she wanted, anything, within, like she basically was like, I want this, I want this, I want that, I want this. So think about that, right? Think about that in a relationship. Think about it in today's just like society, right? We're so much about like, I want fast food. I want convenience. I want, this traffic is so annoying. I'm so impatient and I'm so whatever. And one quote that I wrote down was basically like anything you complain about are things that you feel entitled to. Okay. So think about that. Right? Like anything that you're like frustrated with, or you're like, ugh, like this has really got me down or got me bothered. It's things that you personally feel entitled to. So to break that down a little more, I mean, on the podcast, Brian talks about how you can actually take, right? And we're all human. Okay. We all experience things. We all get frustrated. We all go through different situations where we're like, oh, this is so annoying. But he said this one thing that really stuck. I mean, it really like stuck with me. And it was perspective obliterates entitlement. So what I mean by that,
say it one more time.
Okay, again, right? So it's perspective obliterates entitlement. And what I mean by that is, so he gave an example of his daughters. So his daughters both do competitive volleyball. They're in Ireland. Like they're both like, these crazy, like, like sports players. They're amazing. So anyway, his one daughter who had practiced like, her whole life, had gotten ready for this moment. She got called into a volleyball game. And it's the moment everybody's waiting for, right? It's this insane game. She gets up there and she's all, she actually, like all these coaches, all these scouts are out. She goes up to get the ball and a ball from another court rolled out and was under her leg. And she actually slipped and fell on it and twisted her ankle and like messed herself up. Literally jacked her ankle up, was out of the game. And this was her big moment, right? Everything she had worked up to, it was everything that led to this moment. And so Brian was saying he was driving home in the car and he's just like, every pity party was out. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, and it's like all these things and all this stuff he had told his daughter, like work hard, do this stuff, like it just all went up in flames. So he was in that moment just being all frustrated. And he said he had a call with his client, who was a gentleman who had actually had a son who was born 20 weeks premature.
He said, say it one more time.
Perspective obliterates. Wait.
He wanted you to say the quote one more time.
Obliterates. Say again. Perspective obliterates. Okay. Well, Okay.
If
let
you're
me keep
done.
going. So anyway, so this baby was born 20 weeks premature. And he's on the phone with his client and he's going week after week, right? This baby's fighting. And after 8 weeks, the baby ended up actually passing away. 8 weeks, this father went through the struggle and this pain and this, this heartbreak. And he said he went to the beach. Okay, and this is Brian. He went to the beach and he kind of parked and he started crying his eyes out and he started praying. And he said, you know what? I'm upset about my daughter, her twisted ankle, her dreams, things changed, right? And here's this guy who would give anything to see his son turn 16 and maybe twist his ankle. And that's never going to happen. So again, he says, we're all human, okay? We're all human. We're all human beings, and we're going to face things that we get frustrated and we're going to get upset sometimes. But when we look at the big picture, okay, and we back up and we look at the big perspective, there's so many things to be grateful for. There's so many things, okay, that we need to look at maybe a little bit differently to just kind of change things. And this goes for relationships as well, okay? Maybe things that you take for granted. Okay, and again, we're talking about Veruca Salt feeling like she's entitled to things, okay? Maybe, a person in the relationship is like, well, he doesn't do this and he should give me flowers every day and, he should buy me things or he should do this. That's entitlement. That's feeling like you're entitled to something.
Or if you're the breadwinner and, you're making all the money, that you're entitled to be able to do what you want because you're providing all the money for the household.
Exactly, right? So it's just nuts. And we talk about, right, entitlement, expectation, all those things are actually poisonous in a relationship. Those are the things that diminish a relationship. I read this quote, and this was like a while back. It was when Scott and I were actually at a coffee shop and we were kind of like reading some things, and it said, expectation without observation like equals like disappointment, right? And it's like how in a relationship, like let's say, let me give an example. I'm trying to make sure I explain this properly, but let's say one of the people in the relationship is at work all day, okay, and the other one's at home doing a stay-at-home job, and they're juggling the kids and everything. And the one who's at work all day has this idea in their mind that they're going to have this amazing turkey dinner at home, right? It's like, oh, things are going to be so amazing. Wine is poured. It's going to be awesome. Candles are lit. Like, it's going to be fantastic. They get home. Lo and behold, right? The kids are running around without any clothes on, okay? There's nothing on the stove. Nothing's even been a thought, to be cooked, okay? Your significant other is on their phone talking on a call, trying to get something figured out and saying, hey, can you please take care of like that thing running around there, And then that person is disappointed. They're like, what the hell? I wanted to come home. I wanted to have a meal. This is ridiculous. I'm so irritated. And they're just like so upset. So it's important in a relationship. And again, entitlement and expectation poisons a relationship. How about this? Okay, let's look at it from a different perspective. And I'm all about like how you translate things or how, things can be, in your life. So this person who's working over here and this person who's working at home with the kids and, doing their thing. So this person over here goes, you know what? I can't wait to get home and see my wife and kids or my husband and kids. And I can't wait to come home to this, and we'll see what happens. We'll go from there. They get home. They see the kid running around. They see the wife on the phone. Okay. Instead of expecting something and just literally observing what's happening, they go, oh my gosh, come here, grab the kid, grab some grilled cheese, whip some grilled cheese together, some PB&J, give whoever a hug, and make it happen, okay? So stop coming up with expectations. Stop saying you want certain things, whatever, a certain way. Be present, and be in the now. And, you can chime in.
I love what David said. He said projecting expectations, keep expectations small so when they're not met, they won't be too disappointing. And again, it's all about the feel of everything. And, I think everyone, I still go back and forth with it because I think everyone has expectations in their life about everything. Um, Expectations also, if you look at the other side of it, if you expect something from your husband or your wife or a friend or a family member, but that expectation, it's not something that's verbalized. Communication is key with everything. So if you come home from that long day of work and it's a complete shit show, the kids are running around, there's like laundry everywhere, that's the perfect opportunity. Once the dust settles, the kids are in bed, for you to sit down with your significant other and say, hey, listen, I know things seem a little bit out of control and crazy. What can we do to more efficiently enjoy our time when I come home from work? And, that's, again, I apologize for expecting dinner to be done. I know you have a lot going on here because men, I know there's a few men on here, but men, you got to man up. I'm serious. You got to step up and you got to be a man. And that doesn't mean pounding on your chest. That means verbalizing emotionally to your partner. What can I do to help you? If you're in a rut, if you're stuck, text me and I can stop at the market. I can pick up a rotisserie chicken or something. And then, so you don't have to worry about it. You can focus on or if you want me to come get the kids early, take them out somewhere, maybe go to the park or do something where you can have some time. What can we do to better have everything taken care of at home so it's not a stressful situation? So this all comes back to communication and not expecting someone, the wife not expecting the man to know, and the husband not expecting his wife to know, because you're both setting yourself up for disappointment. So without expectation, when you just live intentionally in the moment, in the now, and communicate, there's never going to be any mixed messages. It's all going to be out there in the open for you guys to work through anything.
Yep. And I actually, I wanted to throw in there. I was so excited to say it. But a huge fix for this Veruca Salt, right? This I want it now, this feeling entitled, this, expectation versus observation is service and gratitude. So if you want to fuel your relationship, practice with service and gratitude.
Here's the thing, I know there's a lot of people on here that sit in on our Facebook Lives that are not in network marketing. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not business owners. You work a 9-to-5. You may be a stay-at-home mom. You may be a busy dad. You may be a busy mom. And what I'm finding is that, for me, the gratitude and the appreciation started through my network marketing journey, and it's now carried over into just how I live my life. So what I want to challenge all of you in life, everyone, and if you guys follow myself or Nancy on social media, we're always talking about gratitude. And I want all of you guys to start practicing gratitude, because gratitude, thankfulness, appreciation, love, honor, all of those things are feelings, and we choose to feel that way. So what I want you guys to commit to yourself, to be the best version of yourself. Because the only person you're letting down is you and your family, because you're not showing up the right way every day. And that's by choice. So everyone, all of us, need to step up and make this world a better place by living in more love and gratitude, no matter what the circumstance. No matter how little or how much money you have, no matter how sick or how healthy you are, the feeling of gratitude and appreciation heals everything. So what I'm going to really suggest to you guys, either first thing in the morning or before you go to bed at night, you get a little journal. And you just write 3 simple things that you're grateful for. And if I was my friend Jackie Piastatelli on here, I would say something like, I'm grateful for my husband, my 2 beautiful sons, and my health. And it could be something as simple as that. I'm grateful for my wife, my husband, and the roof over my head. So the gratitude, it is the best attitude. You hear that quote all the time. And it leads to so many more things. Because when you start feeling grateful, when you start living a life of gratitude and service and giving and loving, it just makes everything better.
It really does. Yeah, gratitude's huge. So,
hey, Misty. Hey, Dave. Good to see everybody on here.
All right. So
Paul says, I am very blessed to know you both. You both are very precious. Thank you, Paul. So are you, brother.
All right. So we've already covered Augustus Gloop, right? So he was a slave to his appetite. He wants things now. You know, again, might be the person who looks outside the relationship for satisfaction, needs to practice self-control. We've hit on Veruca Salt, who feels very entitled.
I want it now.
She wants it now, and she takes for granted a lot of things. Okay, and a fix for that is service and gratitude.
Ooh, but before you move on, so what happened to Augustus Gloop in the movie?
Didn't he blow up into like a big blueberry?
No, that was Veruca Salt. So his appetite got so incredibly huge that remember he got sucked up into that chocolate machine.
Oh yeah.
Because and then Veruca Salt, because she wanted everything right now, she didn't even want to hear Willy Wonka's explanation of that blueberry candy because she ate that piece of candy that tasted like a meal, and then the last was the blueberry pie, and he was trying to explain to her that there was some issues with it, and she blew up like a big blueberry.
But because she didn't want to hear it.
Because she wanted it right now, she waved him off. She goes, "No, just give it to me."
Yep. Yeah, and she was just very much like, no. All right, so we're going to move to the third character. All right, so that is...
He got caught in a pipe. He got caught in a pipe. He got stuck.
That's right, okay. So the third one is Mike TV. Okay, so guys, this applies so much to nowadays, right? With social media, with everyone. Mike TV was so distracted. He was... just had no attention span. He was a know-it-all. He just was basically like, no, yeah. You know, I think he had played video games and all kinds of stuff. But Mike TV is so many people out there right now, okay? And I don't know how many of you out there might be overwhelmed by the amount of social media, the amount of stuff on the internet, the amount of, you know, like just stuff that's always out there. I wrote down a couple stats. And this is from the podcast, but the average attention span of someone under 20 years old, guess. Like how many seconds do you think is the attention span?
All right, no, let's we're asking you guys, what do you guys think the average attention span for a millennial is? The average attention,
I'm a millennial. Yeah.
The average attention span for a millennial, type it in the chat box if you know. Because it is absolute. We're going to give you 10 seconds. The average attention span, 5 seconds. Okay, that's one. Okay, so first we're going to do the average attention span of a goldfish. And what is that?
9 seconds.
Now, the average attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. What is the average attention span of a millennial?
7 seconds.
7 seconds.
The average millennial touches their phone screen or computer screen over 2,100 times a day. Mm-hmm.
So they're going like this.
Yeah.
Over 2,000 times a day, which is 14,000 times a week.
Yep. Not only that, baby boomers. All right. How many baby boomers are out there? Baby boomers were no better. So baby boomers lately have over 2,000 times a day of touching their phone screens or touching their social media or something. So it is happening everywhere, okay? It is everywhere. We are so distracted. We are living in a world, okay, where there's so much information. There's so much stuff out there. A sad statistic is 1.6 million crashes happen because of texting and driving, because of people on their phones or being distracted by something. We are distracted every day. The goal is to be focused, right? The goal is if we can focus on something, focus on what we want, focus on the good relationship, right? Because we're talking about relationships, that equals success. So not just on the focus standpoint, but let's talk really quick, right? Mike TV wasn't just about distraction. He was about like, I know what I'm talking about, right? He was capped off. His world was very small. He was very comfortable with saying, no, I'm good. I don't need any, no. I don't want your advice. I don't want any more knowledge.
I'm good. I know everything.
I don't need to learn anymore. I'm good, right? So the smaller that you are, the more you think you know everything, okay? So many philosophers, so many people out there have said that there's always so much to learn. It's the fix for this, for a Mike TV. Be a humble student. Realize that there's something to learn, something new every day. And when something isn't working and someone's trying to help you or offer you advice or give you the common decency of giving you some criticism or something, be a humble student, okay? So think about relationships, right? Think about whenever you're with someone and they might say, hey, I really wish you would do this, or, I wish you would actually listen to me a little bit more. I wish you would, take my suggestions, or I wish you'd do with this. Take that.
Don't get pissed off and angry.
Yeah. Don't get pissed off and angry. Here's the thing, take that. So Mike TV is two things.
I love that. The more I know, the more I realize I know nothing.
Yeah.
So true.
It's so true. But Mike TV is two things, right? So it's the ADD, the kind of society that we live in, which is so now.
What's projected?
So much information, okay? And then we got over here that I know everything, okay? Guys, we're still human beings. It's still that face-to-face connection. We're not just over the phone. We're not just on a Zoom call. We are people, right? We're human beings. And it's it's so funny because so many of us, right? We're trying to market and we're trying to get out there on social media, but there's so many personal and in-person avenues you can go to. So I like to do for real estate, I actually really enjoy doing open houses. So I like doing open houses. Why? Because I actually get to be a part of the whole process. I get to be in person with people. I get to meet people who are potentially looking, for the house or the thing of their dreams.
Too. It's fun.
It's really cool. And I love that in-person connection. When you're in a relationship, it's real life. Okay. It's for reals. It's not for fakes, right? It is between you and your significant other. And I will tell you, there's so many people out there who don't have someone, okay, who aren't with someone. And that's okay. But it's if you do have a significant other, there's so much room for growth. There's so many things out there you don't know. And I don't care how long you've lived, but there's always room for that growth. Yeah. So be a humble student.
Well, the one thing, there's two things that I want to say. Number one, I tell people all the time, when you think you know everything, you know nothing. And that's the thing, which basically what Chris just said, because we're always students. And for those people that really feel they know everything, that's when you actually start failing. The other thing is this, in the digital age that we're in right now, I personally have taken such a stance to do as much as I can to continue the human connection that I create. That's why I do so many Facebook Lives, because I want people to see me. I want people to hear me. I want people to feel my inspiration and my words. That's why when I do my trainings, I do it through Zoom, because I want to see someone. I want them to feel connected to me. And there are so many people out there that are being taught how to automate everything, how to take themselves out of the equation. You can't replace human connection. It's impossible. You could have you could have the best drip campaign possible for life. I mean, think about this. If you're going to be using a drip campaign and tripwires and autoresponders for business, what makes you think that you can do that for a relationship? Are you going to want to have an autoresponder to your husband or wife? No, you're going to want to have that human to human connection. The way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. Because if you're focusing on removing as much human connection as possible, I'm telling you right now, there's an epidemic going on, and it's ghosting. People are so unwilling. I mean, it's a problem. And you know what? The social media doesn't help, because not only does your phone let you know when someone has read your message, it says read, and you're not seeing anything written back, but when you send a message on Facebook, it shows that small little icon of their profile picture in your message means they've read it and they don't respond. Giving no response is one of the worst things that you can do as a human being, because you're not taking that person's feelings or emotions into consideration. You would never do that to your husband or wife. You would never do that to a best friend. You would never do that to a sibling. So why do you treat one person one way and you treat everybody else the rest? Being polite, being kind, being truthful, being genuine and respectful goes a long way. And my mom still tells me this, treat everybody the way that you would want to be treated back. So even if I'm not interested in something, I will politely decline. Even when I get one of those 877 numbers that calls me, I actually, listen, Joe, I don't mean to cut you off. I do appreciate you taking the time to call me, but I'm okay with what you have to offer. Continue doing the great job that you're doing. You can remove me from your list. I don't just say, stop calling me, fucker, and I hang up. Because people get angry. You got to understand that person on that other line has feelings. They're just doing what they're told. They're not trying to blast you. So treat everyone the same way. If someone offers you something or reaches out to you and you don't want what they want, just politely say, no, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out. Not at this time. Sorry.
Was it my turn? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So on that, because a couple people commented, I think Debbie wrote something about her daughter and Linda wrote a couple things. So I agree. Like
the golden rule, that's what it is.
Yeah. So I am such a fan, and the thing is, I'm a millennial, right? So it's like I'm kind of in that bracket, but like there's so many things you can do, right, to still make sure that you stay focused, you stay on track, right? And one thing that was in here that I wanted to make sure to throw in here is they brought up, so Brian in this podcast that we're referring to brought up salt. So Scott told me a really interesting fact about salt, which I'll make sure to give that, I'll hand it over to him in a second. But salt, we're talking about the common household salt that you have, that you use on food and things like that, right? So when we talk about being distracted and we talk about so many different things, think about salt, okay? And this is going to sound really ridiculous, but it helped my brain, because sometimes I can get a little bit discombobulated and lose focus a little bit. Well, this thought about salt is separately, salt, okay, sodium chloride, are two separate chemicals. And separately, they're poisonous.
Chloride, sodium.
They're poisonous, right?
Individually.
So think about this from the standpoint of your thinking and action. Mm. Okay? And when you need to focus and when you need to get something done, it always needs to happen in this order, right? Feed your mind, then go. Okay? So many times nowadays we're thinking like, oh, well, I could do this and I could do that and I could make all this, right? So you say all these things and you do all these things and you have all these things in your head. An example of this is I got so excited about some artistic idea, which my mom, just so you guys know, my mom, my sister, my brother, all incredibly artistic. We're talking creative geniuses, okay? I want to be. I mean, I'm musically and I'm more writing, but they are literally my mom can take anything and make a million different things. I mean, it's so impressive. I mean, she's literally a creative genius. So the thing is I get all these ideas in my head and I can picture them. I just cannot get them down on paper. And I can say all day long, I'm like, oh, we could do this, that. And in my head, it's already done. I mean, I've literally bought thousands of dollars worth of stuff to create something. And then when I sit down, I'm like, I can't do this. Anyway, my whole point is, right, is you've got to learn. And you've got to take the time to decide what you actually really want to do and you want to spend your time on, and then you go. Yeah. It sounds so simple and so silly, but like in a distracted world, right? Let's say you want to design your own course. Like, let's say you want to put out a course on how to be amazing at social media and do all these marketing campaigns and whatever, okay? Learn all about it. Know everything up and down, be so solid in your information, and then go ahead and roll out your course, right? And then go ahead and do it. So we get so frustrated and we get so all over the place and we're so distracted and we want things now and we're so, all over the place. Slow down and just learn. And again, feed the mind and then do. That's it. So just that little nugget there to like kind of help some people. So, all right, next, the last character where I actually talk about, and we're going to kind of talk about Charlie, like in a very little nugget, because Charlie, of course, is the epitome of, what everyone should be, which is, obviously all good stuff. But we're going to talk about Violet. Okay, so Violet, for those of you who don't remember the movie or haven't seen the movie, and again, we're talking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Violet is competitive. She needs to win. She's always right. She sticks it to you. How many of you have been in a relationship like this? Been with someone who is fighting tooth and nail and has to be right no matter what, right? You get so angry. You get so frustrated. You get red in the face because you're like, why won't you just listen to what I have to say? There you go. That's Violet. Okay. So I'm sure many of you have been in relationships or maybe have known someone in a relationship, who might have been in a relationship like this. So I just wanted to throw out a quote. It's by Yogi Berra. And it is, losing is a learning experience. It teaches you humility, to work harder, which is always a powerful motivator, right? We've got to lose sometimes. We've got to have those learning moments. We've got to have those times where, we might not be perfect. It's okay to be competitive, but you don't have to win every time in order to be successful.
Your greatest successes come from your greatest failures.
Yes.
Write that down. Your greatest successes come from your greatest failures. Because that's it. We talk about this all the time, that the only way to learn how to succeed is to fail. If you're in entrepreneurship, you're failing all the time. You're learning you're always trying new things to see what's going to work, what's not going to work, because you have to constantly get out there and take those swings to get those at bats, because sometimes you're going to get a hit. Sometimes you're going to strike out. You strike out, you're going to figure out what you did wrong at that at bat. So when you get up there the next time, you can hit it out of the park. It's the truth.
Yep. And, think about people who and I can't say like everybody's been in a relationship like this, but, if you have been in an argument and that person literally will not even listen to your point of view, if this happens, just remember, you know what I mean? Like, it's important to kind of like let that chill out a little bit, because sometimes, I think I actually had a quote written down from earlier. It was like an old Chinese, like ancient quote. I have it on here somewhere. I don't know.
Try to find it later. It might be on that piece of paper.
It might be on the other piece of paper, but basically what it said was, in times of great anger and everything, you could save years of upset and miserable, like being miserable, if you can just stop, like basically being all about yourself and whatever, and just listen instead of creating more trouble for yourself. So instead of feeling like you have to be right and you've got to be the one to win the argument and you've got to be, whatever, take that, take that whatever you've got going on, relax it, and just listen to the other person. Have some humility, right? Let it in, listen to what they're saying. Because here's the thing, we get emotional sometimes. We're humans, okay? We react. It's our initial thing to kind of do this, right? To get all aggressive and intense. But let's relax a little bit and let's process things. I always think it's a great filter. I always think it's a great filter to process things through the 3 filters, which, Scott, those filters.
Yeah. Is it necessary? Is it truthful? And is it kind? And this is something that I've really been practicing so much because it's the truth. I really feel that there's a huge difference between listening and hearing. A lot of people, when they're in conversations, you're just trying to hear the person, and it's going in one ear and out the other. It's a whole other ballgame when you're actually taking the time to sit there and listen to what the person is saying. Because when you're listening to what someone is saying, that person is actually sharing how they feel emotionally. People don't, what you have to understand is people don't say things just to say them. If something needs to be discussed or talked about, there's something on that person's heart. And if you love that person enough, you're going to give them that honor and that respect to sit there and listen to them. Not just say, yeah, it's one of those things. Go ahead, say whatever you got to say. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. You're feeling this way. I mean, that is not a good relationship. That is a recipe for disaster. It causes resentment. And honestly, those people shouldn't be together.
And honestly, that's unacceptable.
It's be an adult, like grow up.
Yeah, like seriously, if your relationship is at the point where you're literally passive aggressive to each other all the time, something needs to happen, right? There needs to be a conversation.
Therapy.
Hey, can we have a talk? Like, we need to talk about this. I mean, Scott's a great example. I'm a great example. We've both been in many in relationships where they might have been great. Things have been good, but also there were points where maybe it was time to kind of go, and that didn't happen right away. So it's important to know that you need to work together as a unit. You need to really back up and look at this as a big picture. You need to be a team, and you need to be emotionally mature enough to have these conversations. And when something feels icky, I will tell you, whether it's in leadership, right? Whether it's in roles that I've had in leadership, and whether it's in, jobs or whatever, everything, relationship, if something feels icky, lean into it. Okay? Your business doesn't feel right. Your relationship doesn't feel right. Lean into it.
Don't
What's
brush it
going
under
on?
the carpet.
Hey, why are you acting this way? Is there something I said? Did I upset you? Lean into it. Is there something I can do to help? Right? Dig into it. If you feel weird about it, address it. And especially like in a relationship.
Well, on the point that Nancy's making with leaning into it, Robin Sharma has a great visual quote. And
visual
quote. He gave like a visual quote, and he says you have to lean into your fear. And he gave the vision of, he's a big time skier, loves skiing, and he says that you need to envision yourself with fear at the top of the most steep double black diamond out there. And when you're going down a mountain in your ski boots, are you leaning into that mountain, or are you sitting back in your boot heels? If you sit back in your boot heels and go away from the fear, you're going to fall backwards. He says you have to lean into the mountain. You have to become one with the mountain, lean into that fear. Because when you can lean into the fear, that's where you learn trust. That's where you learn how courageous you actually are. And then that fear just becomes a thing that you progressed through. So every time you're faced with something that you're afraid of, is it going to make more sense for you to lean back and run away from it, or take it head on so you can learn the lesson from it?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And Robin Sharma is great for any of you who have not checked him out yet. He's fantastic.
He is.
So just
and he's got a shaved head.
And oh yeah, he's got the same hair that you do.
He does.
I like that.
Or lack of hair. We do.
So anyway, so the big thing with Violet, obviously she's competitive. So the fix there, right, is to be a servant. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, listen, right? They even say to be a good leader, okay, and to be a good boss, be a servant. And I can't tell you, like, for any of you out there who are in HR, who are in management roles, who are in a relationship.
Actually, if you're a leader in a network marketing team, that's a management role.
Everything.
Like, yeah, it applies to everything.
Listen to your team. In fact, okay, if you're having struggles, or if you're kind of like feeling kind of icky about something, or maybe your meetings aren't as vibrant as they used to, or maybe your dinner conversation isn't as vibrant, stop and say, hey, what's going on? How do you feel about this?
How's everybody been
What
feeling?
could be better? Like, I always love, like, I'm such a big fan of start, stop, and continues, but like, what's going well? What can we start doing more of? You know, what can we continue? What do you like? You know, what do you not want me to do anymore? Like, I know it sounds silly, but like, be a servant, like, listen to people. Ask
questions.
The one thing I thought was really cool in a story that I heard was this guy. So Brian, I just want to make sure I get his name right because he was so amazing. Brian Buffini. Okay. So he gave a story. So for those of you out there who don't know, the guy who made McDonald's, or who made McDonald's famous, his name was Ray Kroc. So Brian Buffini had this insane story. He actually was a painter whenever he was younger.
True story.
And he was painting this huge 5,000 square foot, you know, like guest house. And this woman, this old lady, kept coming down every day. And he was like, you know, he's Irish. And she was saying, you know, do you like tea and whatever? And he's like, of course I do. So every day she would come down and give him tea and give him sandwiches with the crust cut off and everything. And every day she would come down and talk to him. Never once telling him, you know, who she was or whatever. Finally, after about 3 months, he said he finally figured out that she was, what's her name? Joan Kroc, Ray Kroc's wife, who had, you know, made McDonald's famous. So he's like, holy cow. Okay, so he asked her, he said, you know, what made Ray so incredibly successful? And she told him, she just said, look, like, this will never go on his memoir. This will never be down in the books or whatever. But honestly, in my own observation, he was a student and he was interested in serving people. He was always interested in helping other people, and he always took feedback and he listened. She has said that he many times tried to come up with his own ideas, right? You know, he came up with this idea for a hula burger, which was like pineapple and blah, like some gross burger. He tried to come up with all these ideas and they were always flops. But when he listened to the franchise owners and the people who actually had the ideas, who were in it and dealing with it, they came up with, exactly, they came up with the fillet of fish.
And why?
Which was one of the franchises in New Jersey. They had a lot of Catholic, you know, individuals that could not have meat on certain days and they needed fish. So they started the fillet of fish, which became their biggest, you know, other sandwich. And then they had the Big Mac, which—
How did that happen?
That came about because there were a lot of construction workers that were in this one location, and they were like, oh, always ordering multiple burgers. So they wanted something bigger. So they came up with the Big Mac. So this is an example of someone who actually listened, and the business grew because of it, and the thing grew because of it. Okay, think about that in relationships. If you just listen to your partner, and I'm saying this, I know for like women, like I know a lot of stubborn women who just don't want to hear it and who are just like, no, you know, things are whatever and blah, blah, blah. Just listen, okay? And you can probably speak to men, you know, a lot of men out there.
Can I give them an example?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So Nancy is always like pushing me to learn more because, you know, I'm in a growth phase in my brand and my business. So she sent me this this link, and she wanted me to look at this course about how to create a membership site, which I'm in the process of doing. And she said to me, It would really mean a lot to me if you took a look at this. Now, some people would have just said, yeah, okay, I'll take a look at it. But no, like I went through the course, I took notes, and I messaged her and I said, this was great. I got a lot of new ideas and I have like 4 pages of notes. Because I listened to what she said, because she said it would mean, because she cares enough about me and my journey. She wasn't doing this for herself. She was doing it for the betterment of me and my business. And she just said it would mean a lot to me if you actually went through this great course that I found that you would really benefit from. And it did benefit me. Another thing was she had this list of like 9 things to do. And she goes, I want you to, if you could go through this little exercise, it'll really start to help you define, what's so great about your course. Go through it. So what I did was I grabbed my phone, I went through the course, and I did an audio recording, and I sent it to her. And she listened to me going through the whole thing. But it's that kind of respect that I have for her. If she's going to take the time and on her own time, outside of her own business, and say, listen, I found this, it's going to be really good for you. It would mean a lot to me if you went through it. I mean, could I have not gone through it? Sure. But what would that have sent to the message back to her? Like, you stop doing things for each other, because she'd be like, well, I'm sending you all this stuff and you're not even doing it. So I honor and respect her so much that if she's going to take time to do that, then I'm going to take the time to give it back to her by going through that little course or going through that exercise. That's what a relationship, that's what teamwork is. You go back and forth for each other. And there's things that, I find, I'll say, heard a great podcast, check this out. It's a ton of golden nuggets. You got to listen to it. I mean, we were actually doing that for each other even before we started dating. We went on a date. I'm like, here's a great meditation. You got to check this out.
So it was really funny because that's the way. We went on a date and didn't talk to each other for a few months. And in between, it was like, hey, I think you'd like this place. Like, hey. Like, yeah, it was like still happening. But yeah, no, like don't think, okay, if you're in a long-term relationship and maybe something feels a little tarnished, like let's say your significant other used to reach out to you and give you suggestions and you shot them down and now maybe they're a little more closed off or reserved. Open that line of communication back up, sit down and just say, you know what, there's been something that's been bothering me. I know I flipped out last time you gave me feedback and gave me whatever, but like, I really enjoyed hearing that. So please keep it coming. Please, bring that back. I really appreciate it. Nothing is unfixable. If you're in a relationship and you really want to make it work, you always need to address it. You need to talk about it. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. 2 heads are always better than one. It's very true.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go. It's so powerful when you water each other, and Nancy and I talk about it all the time. We are constantly watering each other in one way, shape, or form.
And I will tell you what, the best part of our relationship is that we realize neither of us is perfect, right? We are not perfect. I mean, we have our own flaws, we have our own hot buttons, we have our own triggers, we have our things that make us go crazy. I mean, we are special people. But together, we are kind of at this emotional maturity and we're at this emotional intelligence level that we're just both like, hey, what the hell was that?
Right. And you can work through anything.
Yeah.
If you want to.
If you want to.
I mean, no one says that just because you're in a relationship or you're married that you have to stay that way. Like, I think a lot of people stay married for the wrong reasons, and you sacrifice your own love and your own joy and your own life for what?
Let's just say if you're at that point where literally you have such a shit-tastic relationship and it's really not good.
As Dane Cook says, it's a relationship.
Shit, okay? If you I always say for everyone in that state where you're like, holy shit, this is crappy, go to therapy, okay? Go to a therapist and then look at them. If they're giving you the eyes like,
get out, done. Let's
meet separately out the
because because a therapist will give you an objective opinion of what they see between, because you know, when you're in the relationship, you don't really hear or see anything. But when you have that objective voice there saying, listen,
if something's
you're this
completely
way, you're this
unhealthy or
way.
not good, okay, it's going to be brought up during therapy. But the thing is that's step one, okay? If you have a relationship where you are literally like so in love with that person, or you're on the fence, or you're not sure, step one, my recommendation would be, I mean, again, being in years of relationships and everything, go to therapy and start there. Okay? Like, no one else can tell you. You have to make the decision. You have to decide if this is right for you.
Yeah.
No one else can do that.
All right, so let's talk. Let's finish, because it's getting late. We don't want to keep people. Let's finish with how amazing he is, and how, if we can all just take a small piece of who he is and put it into us, the world's really going to be a better place.
Yeah, so let's talk really quickly. So about Charlie. So again, you know, if you're on here and you are watching, if anyone has seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, we kind of broke down the different characters that can form in relationships and in life. So if you're on here, the last character we're talking about is Charlie. So, you know, Charlie was offered by, I think it was like the Slugworths or something. You know, they basically under the table were like, Charlie, give us all the secrets and we'll give you all this money. Charlie, who's this kid who grew up, you know, with nothing and he doesn't have much, refused the money. You know, he doesn't want that. You know, he does not want to be the bad person, and he wants to be a truthful, upstanding citizen. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want to, you know, give the secrets of the factory away. So it's a true test, and this whole movie is just a true show of his character, of, you know, being able to follow through and just be a good person. When we talk about that in relationships, no matter what you're faced with, right? So we already know, right? Go back to the characters. A goose is glue. There's always going to be other women. There's always going to be other men. There's always going to be other things out there in relationships. And you're going to want that like instant satisfaction. Have self-control. Okay? Be like Charlie, right? Self-control. Like, no, like that money would be nice. That girl would be nice. That guy would be nice. No, I'm going to practice self-control. All right? So Veruca Salt, feeling entitled. I want it now. She wants everything. All that stuff. Practice gratitude.
I mean,
he
lived in a house. It was his grandparents, his mom, his dad, his sister, his brother. I mean,
yeah, he lived with like the whole
family, and he was grateful for. And he said that you know, he's going to get this chocolate bar and he's going to split it with all of them. They all split the rations.
He was so grateful, and he loved his family. Okay. Practice gratitude.
Yeah.
Practice, you know,
be grateful for everything that you have.
Absolutely. So then we talked about Mike Tive. Okay, we talked about the distracted person, right? The most common people nowadays who have no attention span and they know it all, right? They don't need to learn anything else. They already know it, and everything is all out there. Practice focus. Okay? Focus on your relationship. Focus equals success in many different things.
And also you want to constantly learn. And I think
be a humble student.
Charlie was the one kid that actually took the time to actually get to know Willy Wonka as a person and really find out, you know, about the Oompa Loompas and how that came about, how he came up with all the recipes. All the other kids were there doing the thing. They were there for themselves, you know, and he really wanted to learn. He wanted to pay attention. He wanted to learn more. He wanted to be a student.
Yep, definitely. And then we rest on Violet, who, you know, was competitive, needs to win, needs to be right. She really sticks it to you. You know, it's important, again, to keep your eyes open, to listen, you know, and again, to be that servant and to hear what others are saying.
Yeah,
you know, hear what your significant other is saying.
Yeah, don't live in a world of competition. Live in a world of creation and love. That's what it's all about. So I know this was probably our longest live ever, but it was a lot of fun. Like we're just honestly so grateful that you guys actually sit on here and spend your Sunday evenings with us, because we just want to leave you better Sunday night moving into Monday. And go back, take what you can from this. You know, we're always listening and reading things so we can take them back and bring them to you. Grace and truth right there. So on behalf of Nancy and myself, remember, Hakuna Matata. It means no worries. And have a great Sunday, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.